Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Plan Commission Work Session of February 5th, 2025. We'll call it to order at 6:09. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Stephanie?
That's you.
Chuck Becker?
Here.
Greg Parker?
Here.
Bob Carnahan? Absent. James Hunley?
Here.
Heather Dessauer is here. Jerry Wilkening?
Here.
John Kapura?
Present.
Don Oliphant?
Here.
David Austin?
Present.
Jeff Bungie?
Present.
Terrence Conley is here, but right now not here. Tim Kubiak?
Here.
And Cheryl Hyduke is absent.
Okay, old business. D. Simone. Railside Lot 17. Owner petitioner M&M Warehouse LLC, 421 Brookshire Court, Valparaiso, Indiana, 46385, vicinity of 13631 Alexander Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting site plan approval for shell building at Railside Business Lot 17. Hi, did I say that name right this time?
D. Simone, yeah?
Yeah, okay, good. So I know I butchered it last time.
That's all right. Well, this is my wife, Mackenzie, from M&M Warehouses.
Yeah, we need your name and address for records.
Mike D. Simone, Mackenzie D. Simone, 421 Brookshire Court, Valparaiso, Indiana, 46385.
Okay, thank you.
So we came here back in December, lost power 4 or 5 times, basically had a concept plan of what we were going to do. Now we have all of our drawings and site plans and construction drawings in order and MEPs. We had some comments from Burke Engineering, so we have our drawings done. We'll make all those changes that Don had made. Had requested, yep, and then turn those around as quick as we can so we can get moving, essentially. Couple of the questions we had, Mackenzie was talking to you today, Don, about, what were some of your notes here?
Oh, well, I talked to Don earlier today, and I reassured him that we're going to get our engineer on some of the questions or some of the comments that he had made. And so that should be a quick revise of meeting the standards that Don requested. And then, of course, we'll resubmit to Don via the engineer and talking to our engineer, get his requests handled and in order and get those back to him. So as soon as those are approval, or as soon as the items and the comments that Don had made were met by his standards, we're hoping to move forward to a building permit. So really, we're kind of hoping to get approval with exceptions tonight, with working with Don Oliphant in accordance to his comments.
Yeah, we can't approve anything at this meeting.
We know.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah. In 2 weeks, possibly, if you get everything together in 2 weeks, you could be on the agenda, and then we can move that, take some action then. Don, you got anything?
We issued a letter on February 2nd. None of the comments are major. This lot in the TUD is kind of unique in the fact that it abuts actual residential property to the north of the Lily Fields, so they have some stricter screening requirements and offsets to it that need to be cleaned up on their plan.
That was one thing, actually, I wanted to ask you about,
Yeah.
bring that up. So there's a baseball field to the north, we have to screen that.
Yep.
And then there was a swale on the plan
Yep.
that we're taking out, because we're gonna have that pavement there and a curb and gutter and catch it and run it all the way down to the manhole on the northeast side there.
Yeah.
So I was planning on screening that heavily, so, you don't see the building, and it looks nice, and then, if it's a little bit higher, we'll just grade it down, nicely, and then, all those trees are gonna suck up a lot of the water.
Yeah.
And whatever water runs off the building will be caught by the curb
Yes.
there, so is that okay?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
That
that.
we keep the pavement the way it is there, and
So the pavement does need to be pulled off the easement limits.
so what, as far as like not go as far towards the property line?
Yeah, so the building has a minimum 30-foot, basically setback from your north property line. I think you're at like 28 and a half now or something, so it just
So
needs
we
to
just
scoot
shorten
down
that
a
up
little
a
bit.
little bit.
But typically, we don't allow pavement in our drainage easements. So you have 20-foot drainage easements on your north property and on your east property. Right now, your east property, you have pavement almost going directly all the way to your property limit.
Yeah,
So typically, we try to pull that off a little bit, keep
so
it out.
so that dotted line is that easement?
Yeah.
So I don't really want to do that because that limits the outdoor storage and the turnaround space for trucks and stuff to get around. And if we're gonna have those manholes in the pavement to drain anyway and move the water off the site, and then any
Yeah.
access.
I mean, right now, you don't have any curb and gutter shown, so that's kind of new to me.
So the plan is to look at the north little
Yeah,
one there, a curb and gutter, and then the south side curb and gutter. And then, I didn't know what to do with 18 yet, because, as far as screening it, if we put a building up and that tenant wants 18 too to go back and forth, I don't wanna have to take out trees,
yeah.
you know, so that's why I kinda left that open.
Are you talking about lot 18 to the south?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, you only have to, well, there is a side yard requirement for that. I mean, if you're anticipating moving into 18, obviously, there's no sense in doing that. The PUD allows you to cross property lines like that.
Mhm.
So I think we just need to discuss about how that may work.
Yeah, 'cause like some of
Can we
our.
mitigate the trees that were supposed to be there and use them additionally on our other properties that we plan to build on?
Potentially, I mean, there's no guarantee
Okay.
to extend, so that's kind of a hard question to answer at this point. We can talk it over. And that's the other thing is pavement right up to your southern property line too.
Mhm.
Typically, we try to have, kind of common swale lines on those to kind of direct drainage from the street and then back to that rear inlet. So it's just, without knowing what's happening at 18, it's hard for me to comment on that.
It would be essentially the opposite of 17, so the building.
So a mirrored image of that building.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss outside of the meeting and
Because if that, if
see how
it's
that affects some of the
a separate
comments.
tenant, it would just be a fence line down,
Yeah,
the property line.
okay,
Yeah.
we can talk.
Okay.
We would want an answer though before, I mean, we can't leave that up in the air, so how would that work?
That's why I thought it was kind of difficult to answer.
Well, we're going through 18 right now
Okay.
to split them. We have a different engineer.
Yeah.
So he should be working on splitting 18 and then getting drawings in,
Okay.
pretty
Would an
quickly.
answer before permitting suffice within the next 2 weeks?
Normally a whole bunch of exceptions and we don't love, so,
There's a deadline for the information, the
Absolutely.
Friday before
Yes.
the meeting. So you guys gotta get,
Well, this is a
His
little
question.
different, I mean, they're talking, so you wouldn't need screening typically between two parcels that are owned by the same owner.
I'm
or
talking
have
about,
same use.
I'm talking about everything we're talking about.
Oh, I know, but technically side yards need screening in this subdivision.
Yeah,
So they would need it. I understand what they're saying, why put it up, it's just coming straight back down. I understand that. So, but it's hard for anybody up here to comment when we haven't seen anything on 18 yet.
Yeah, and it's the same argument for the rail side, if the tenant wants a rail spur going into their yard and they got a bunch of trees in their way, we gotta take those out.
I don't know if that was ever anticipated in the PUD, rail spurs, but,
Well, they sure priced it that way.
point taken. We can talk.
Okay.
I mean, if you have documentation with the owner of the subdivision that that's moving in that direction, maybe that's something we would consider.
Okay.
But we'd probably have to see something a little more detailed
Yeah.
to
Yeah, I
deviate
mean-
from that.
Yeah, well, I understand what'll make it look nice, and I do too.
Yeah.
I just don't wanna have to do something and then just
No.
tear it out,
Makes sense.
so. And then some of the other things, like make the entrance smaller on the comments and direct it more towards a 30-foot entrance, so that's all fine, and
Yeah.
move the handicap down a little bit.
Yeah, nothing was major on there.
Mm,
typical site plan comments, so.
Okay.
Well, they would have to show that railroad spur on the drawings then, right?
I mean, yeah, if they don't, they probably have to come back before the board to include it after approvals.
That's probably what would happen, we would get a tenant, they say, hey, we
Yeah.
want a rail spur put in there, and then we have to come back to you and say,
This is changing the site plan, they would
Right.
have to come back for something that's significant, in my opinion.
Can all this be accomplished in 2 weeks?
We will see. I mean, I would say yes, but I know their engineer's kind of out on leave right now, I know he hurt himself, and I still think he's out of the office, so I think that's gonna be a driver more than anything.
yeah, really, we're just gonna get the changes made per the comments. Is it 85% impervious, or is it 90%?
85 is your max.
For sure, 85, okay. So if we get it at 84 with
You're good.
that north side, we're good.
You're good.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Yeah, so we'll make those changes and whatever the other ones were.
Yeah, and we'll see where we're at in 2 weeks.
Okay. So if we just turn those around next week, submit them,
And get him in as quick as you can,
Yeah.
because I have to have our letters in by midday next Friday to make that agenda packet.
okay.
Tim, do you have anything?
Nope, just.
Or
No.
Terry?
No.
No?
You know, they've been working hard at it. I think everyone wants to see rail side take off and, get that going over there. And this is a very similar project to what he's done in Crown Point. He's done several of these in Crown Point. And so they like the community and they see an opportunity for them. And as I told them, I said, I hope you build 10 of them, you know,
Yeah.
so. You know, this is a good client. I think whatever you can do for him, be greatly appreciated. I know that Don's been working hard on it, and he got the stuff out to him on Monday, which doesn't really help anybody, but again, Don, you cited that there was no major issues, it was all pretty minor stuff, correct?
Yeah, the biggest thing were kind of some of the setbacks and screening stuff that's unique to this lot that I don't think Doug knew. I don't know if he's seen that PUD, but this one's unique.
Well, if you can get everything put together and get the data into this office in time, then, you know, we'll see you at the next, at the public, meeting, where we can take action on it. Otherwise, it'll be a month, be in March before you, can get approval or action taken.
Yeah, which we're
Yeah,
hoping doesn't happen, but
yeah, well,
we'll see.
ball's in your court now.
Yeah,
We think that everything's gonna get done, you know, within this time frame, and we're very thankful to Don and Terry. They've been a really great help, communication's been awesome, and I think that their advice has been extremely, helpful moving forward, so I'm very, optimistic about things getting done here pretty quickly.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
What,
I have a couple questions for Don.
go ahead.
The north side of the property is gonna need screening. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody has any questions about that.
No.
Screening to the south, I think is futile.
It's interior,
Yeah. So if the swale disappears on the north side of the property, the water that swale was gonna convey ends up going where? The same place it was gonna end up in the first place, whether he's trapping it in
Yeah, I
drains?
mean,
Or
I
It's
think
all,
it's all going to the northeast corner, probably, if it's through
It's
the
all-
swale or if it's through the curb and gutter.
okay, it's all going to the same place?
Yep.
Doesn't change any of the flow rates?
Does not.
Okay.
They all, this lot was pre-designed, we'll call it, master plan to go to the southeast corner. There's
Okay.
a stub sitting there.
The other thing was that, the waiver of screening along the tracks, is that what I was hearing?
No, they're not asking for that, they're asking for it on the south.
The south.
The
On the south
interior
side, okay,
screening.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But you were talking about pulling out, putting something in that a rail would make you tear out.
Oh, so that would be on the east
That would
side,
be decent.
the rail side.
They were talking about acquiring lot 18, which is the next lot to the south.
Right.
And then there would be connectivity, I'm guessing, or it'd be the same owner, so why are you
For
screening?
a siding.
Yeah, why are you screening between two?
No, that
M1
makes
lots?
sense, that makes sense.
We will be building on, that property
Yeah.
next.
Okay.
You know, as long as everything goes well, that's our
Okay.
ultimate plan. Yeah.
All right. I got it.
Yeah, so every lot in the subdivision gotta have screens on the side?
Supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Screening between two
Yeah, I mean, I understand the
doesn't make a
north.
whole lot of sense, yeah.
In the rail side, okay, fine, you know,
Yeah,
but it's an industrial park.
no, I totally
But
agree.
absolutely, for the residents in the ballpark, that's right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the PUD says there's screening between every business?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, special circumstances for R2 for us, and then when you get to like lot 1, I think.
Lot
the
1
other
and
end.
2 have some weird
Yeah. There's a
ordinance
different
too, because
zoning,
they front on 141st.
yeah.
When will you be warehousing?
We don't know yet, so, depends what our tenant's business is.
Our typical tenants
Yeah.
are, again, light industrial, so we have, for
HVAC guys, electric,
plumbing,
yeah, if they
the
have,
antique malls that are in Crown Point.
yeah, Ewing Irrigation, you know, they have all their irrigation and lighting supplies and fertilizer, Permastar is one of ours, Scapel, you know, they use it for basically a warehouse for all their extra parts. So it just kinda depends.
Well, Don, I would appreciate something in the packet when you get this nailed down to what all the waivers are gonna be.
I mean, I would anticipate that would be the only waiver,
Yeah.
southern screening.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no more questions, you know what you have to do.
Cool.
Okay,
Great,
thank you.
for your
Great,
time.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Don Terry, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Let the record show that Mr. Carnahan has showed up. It's a little late, but he's here now.
I made a note.
Okay, number 2. Steve Sikorovich, use variance. Owner petitioner Steve Sikorovich, 10120 Homestead Court, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 13930 Lalaman Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. This variance is to allow the petitioner to have multifamily residential with the B1 medical office in an R2 zoning district. Petitioner prior use variance was approved by the BZA on February 11, 2021, and Town Council on March 2nd, 2021. The BZA motion was as follows: motion to send a favorable recommendation to the Town Council for a special use variance to allow the petitioner to have a multifamily residence with the B1 medical office in an R2 zoning district with the following contingencies: 4 apartments and 1 medical office. Medical office will have limited in-house patients and telemedicine. Are they still having the telemedicine?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Contingent upon meeting at all town codes and ordinances for the building department to allow and approve occupancy. Medical office space shall not exceed 600 square feet. Hours of on-site operation 8 to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, and occasionally on Saturday and Sunday, all by appointments only. To maintain a family medical practice. To make building equipment improvements as shown and discussed on a drawing submitted February 11, 2021, and last month. Petitioner will come back to the Board of Zoning Appeals for any additional use of space to include the findings of facts. Multifamily residence has been completed, and now the petitioner is looking to move forward with the medical office.
Thank you, Mr. President. Say that 5 times fast. Nathan Bitz here on behalf of Dr. Sikorovich. This is for 13930 Bowerman Street, more affectionately called as the Hanover House. Mr. Cooper, as you may recall here, we were before you back on December 12th, before the BZA, and the purpose for that particular meeting was to request to allow a B1 medical office in an R2 zoning district. That was favorably approved with the contingencies as are outlined in A through I. The one thing I would note is that B there, which says medical office will have limited in-house patients, that word limited was removed at the BZA hearing, so that should be removed as well. What was then discussed at the tail end of that meeting is that with developments such as these, it's my understanding that the Plan Commission has been seeking to more strictly enforce Chapter 17 of your code. And Chapter 17 of your code calls for the Plan Commission to review site plans in those developments where you're increasing development that's existing by 25% or more. And recognizing that we'd be installing a parking lot in this particular instance, that's why it's before you this evening. So just a little bit of history for those that weren't at the BZA meeting. Back in 2021, my client, having bought the Hanover house, wanted to make two big improvements to it. One was to develop 4 residential apartment units within it. The second was to develop about 600 square feet for a medical office. That was approved in 2021. And what your code indicates is that permission or approval is good for 1 year as long as it's commenced. My client did indeed commence in 2021. As Mr. Kubiak can attest to, we were there voluminous amounts of times doing improvements for the 4 apartment units. And after that was completed, we then submitted downstate for approvals for the medical offices. There was 2 submissions. That was subsequently approved this past summer. My client was working with his luminescent engineer with Mr. Kubiak's office. That was approved roughly July, August of last year. And it was at that point that town officials said, wait a minute, we're now about 3.5 years into this approval that was granted in 2021. Perhaps you should reapply. So that's why a reapplication occurred. Basically the same request was back before the BZA that was made in 2021. The only change was to withdraw the emphasis upon telemedicine and allow for 2 units inside. My clients discovered that COVID has not changed the practice of medicine. People want to meet with their doctors. And when we came before the BZA in December, that's when we learned as well that there was a request to go before the Plan Commission for site plan approval. That could have been requested in 2021. It was not. So that's why we're here before you this evening. And my understanding is the purpose is for your blessing and approval on any of the proposed site plans that we have for the exterior. What I have shared with you is the proposed site plan. We had an opportunity to sit down with Don as well as with Terry. I think that was a couple of weeks ago to discuss the exterior review, and there was 2 potential site plans that we shared. I've shared one and I'll share the second one in a bit. But what is for review here is you can see there is a 16-unit asphalt parking lot that is located to the north of the 2-story brick building that would service both the 4 apartment units as well as the physician offices and patients. I've circled in red, that is proposal number 1 for handicap parking. This would require at least 1 handicap spot. We've proposed 2 here. So that's proposal A. Now a question is raised, well, how many do we need for the types of use that we have here? With 4 apartment units, it's my understanding, speaking with Terry, that would require 8 parking spaces. So we've got 8 there. There is space for 2 employees with physician offices, so we have 2 spaces there. Technically, my client is only making it available for 2 patients at a time. Say we even increase that to 4. If you were to have 2 sitting in a very small waiting room, you're at 14. You're still 4 spots under. So there's more than ample parking with what we do have here. Now, one of the items that Don noted when we sat down a couple of weeks ago is the far left corner of the asphalt lower parking lot. There's about maybe 12 square feet that's in the floodplain line for the 100-year flood. So even if we had a 100-year flood that would take out one of those parking spaces, we still have more than ample parking spaces. It's also my understanding that our luminescent plan has been approved. That hasn't changed. That meets with all the codes. And the only other item that I would suggest is that we do recognize that there does need to be a ramp on the entryway to the building, and any and all improvements would be pursuant to ADA accessibility standards. So that's site plan number 1, which has 2 handicap spaces on the left side of the building. An alternative that we've bantered about with town officials would be to have those parking spaces kind of parallel with Lowerman. But if we were to do that, we would need a license signed off on by the town because we'd be taking up a little bit of your not roadway, but the area that you have for roadway expansion. So I'm gonna offer that one secondly as a suggested alternative. And I've circled in red, the 2 parking spaces that I've identified there.
Thank you.
Good. And with that, I will, and like I said, Dr. Sikorovich is with me here this evening. I will entertain any questions.
Where is the ADA entrance gonna be?
The ADA entrance will be in front, so facing Lowerman.
So, you're gonna need a parking place there in front. So, you're gonna, the 2 you're showing on here, on your second option, those have to be there for the entrance, right?
Yeah, so we would either suggest that the ADA handicap accessibility parking would either be on the side of the building, that's an option 1, or option 2 would be running parallel with the building. Those are the 2 potential locations, but if we were to move towards option 2, the spacing would require us to have a license of some form from the town to place them, as it's a little bit in the right of way for Lowerman
Yeah,
Street.
but you just said that the entrance is gonna be off Lollerman.
Correct.
So that means that you need parking on Lollerman for access to that door.
The code doesn't require that we have it immediately adjacent to, it's in the near vicinity. And in meeting with
Okay,
both
well-
Don and Terry, the first location does meet that qualification.
As long as it meets the qualifications.
Just close on the first one.
I'd better see the first one and the second, have traffic parallel on Lowerman. It's a close to the intersection there, and it's pretty narrow right through there. So, I'd for number 1.
Yeah, there's a left-hand turn by the auto body shop right there. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Hunley, yeah.
I really thought telemedicine would take off.
It has,
Mr. Wilson, I did too, I had some stock that indicated that, and then it sank, so.
lots of people do telemed,
Yeah.
so.
The parking spaces along Lowerman, this is a meets and bounds piece of property, right? So technically, they own, right now, they own to the center of the road. So now we're inviting another mess. Because now we're parking in what may be a needed roadway. So if the ADA parking was on the south side of the building, blacktop standards and everything else, that may suffice. On the north side of the building, he just can't go in and put blacktop down. That has to be all put down according to parking lot standards, right, Don?
Supposed to.
And then the stormwater's gotta be dealt with.
I mean, that was my question, is how do you wanna treat this site plan? Is it a 1-lot subdivision? Are you gonna require some level of engineering for that, for lighting, for,
This is a
a lot
business
of
now, so
Yeah.
this needs all sorts of engineering.
Well, technically you can't have parking in the front yard setback, so that now makes those front parking spots a waiver or variance. So,
Is your plan not to make a parking lot, or what is your plan there for, because what's there right now is not a parking lot. So is your plan to leave that alone?
For which area? For where?
For where the tenants park currently?
That is the current parking lot.
I would, that's a loose statement.
Yeah,
That's gravel and dirt and.
Right, yeah, that is where they've been for as long as you talk to folks that have been here for decades.
Sure, so now that he's gonna start a business there, is the plan to still park in the gravel and the dirt, or are we improving that?
No, so they just to turn that current location, tilt it slightly to preserve as many trees as possible. That's why you see the green dots on there. But it's to overlay the existing parking lot with the new parking lot that meets your standards. Correct. And as Don indicated, this is what's so unique about it. When we look at chapter 17, technically, the only expansion of the footprint is parking lot, not the building itself. So as to what scope of review is necessary, I don't know, and that's why we met with Terry and with Don. My understanding was it was just before you as to the preferred location for the parking lot and nothing else.
Yeah, I think the building itself has its own challenges. There was quite a few red tags on that during rehab, right?
it's legal non-conforming too.
Like how many red tags did they have there, just out of curiosity?
A few is three.
Number, I have no idea the number, to tell you the truth. It was started in 2021 or so it's been, you know, a couple of years ago since that's been, but.
Same owner throughout the whole process, or did it change any?
No, that's the same owner. I drove by quite a bit. Seems like there was always
Same owner, yeah.
issues there.
Has it, permit's been finalized out, though, and it's been inspected?
For the apartment parts are done, yes. The 4 units they passed and he got occupancies for the 2 additional. I mean, essentially there was already 2 existing, straightened them up some and got the other 2, you know, electric redone, plumbing redone, quite a lot of, it was a lot of work to get it to where it is now, let's say.
And Jeff Bungie, our town manager, was on the BCA at the time.
I guess in the first approval, I mean, there was a statement made to get the whole outside of the building repaired or fixed. That was kind of one of the things that we as a, you know, I mean, they kind of painted some stuff and fixed the windows that he had to fix, the level of which it is. I mean, it's an old building. I mean, there's been a lot of work done to it. There's still more to do, you know, so.
So you use the phrase old building. Is any of that building not sitting on concrete foundation?
Yeah. A lot of that building is sitting on piers and posts and piers and the area. I mean, there's a foundation per se under most of it, a lot of it, but there is some that's on piers and in the front.
I thought we can't touch anything when it's on piers. I thought there's no permits for something on piers.
No, well, I mean, the pier statement is just if you're rehabbing a structure that has nothing, you know, but this is this is not to that, I guess to that level. It's not completely being rebuilt, but it is structurally sound, you know, and I mean, he's done quite a lot of work to it up to this point, but it does have a ways to go, so.
I think what's critical to the company that is not only has Mr. Kubiak's office viewed it, but it's gone twice through a review downstate with their review, which has been pretty meticulous, especially when you're dealing with the medical office, so.
I think there has to be some level of proposed site plan beyond what we're seeing here, at least for the ADA accessibility. I have no idea what your slopes are gonna be if they meet any kind of ADA, I have no idea. They said you just have a proposed 5-foot walkway on existing topo.
So respectfully, I guess if you can clarify what is being requested, my understanding when we met a couple of weeks ago is this was...
I don't think you and I actually met on this. I think I emailed some stuff. I don't remember meeting in person with you about this one.
Who did I meet with on this?
I don't know, it wasn't me.
Terry and Tim? They're blurring together at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. It was with... No, then
I'm pretty sure it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Wasn't me.
Was it?
No, I know that. I guess, what would you like to see? What is...
I mean, there has to be some proposed grades on, like, how you're accessing the parking lot to the building, the handicaps to the building, if there's, you know, if you need ramp access into the building. Like, I don't know much about the actual, like, entranceway to the building. Because there's no topo up near where you enter. So I have no idea what's what.
Well, the way the building sits in relation to the street, it's close.
Oh, it's dangerous.
It's on-
I mean, if you dedicate it right away, your right away is gonna be in the house. Or
But
2 feet away.
But we're gonna be waiving a one-lot subdivision.
Huh?
I said, are we gonna be waiving a one-lot subdivision?
That was one of my questions, if you're gonna require this to be a one-lot sub. I mean, it's 1.9 acres. It's not a new permanent structure per se, or a new asphalt per se. You're overlaying an existing, I guess, so it's a gray area. But historically, we've made one-lot subdivision out of to, at minimum, clean up right-of-way areas.
Yeah.
Make it a lot of record and...
ADA parking on the south side of the building, if that works, that's off the right of way.
It'll be close.
How
I
many
mean,
spaces did you
it's
say,
a
4?
smaller right of way. It's only a 40-foot right of way. It's a 20-foot from center.
You said
10 to 8 feet off of the right of way.
You said 4 ADAs?
2.
Oh, 2, only 2.
Down in the ADA entryway, is the sidewalk slope 8%, or is it a ramp slope of 1%?
The ramp can be 8.3. The longitudinal slope of just outside of the ramp has to be 5.
So that counts for the sidewalk and everything
Yeah.
coming up.
So yeah, the concrete sidewalk coming up from the asphalt, that would be 5% max.
So, more detailed as to the ADA ramp in front, what other, I guess, evaluative review do we need here?
I mean, how are we lighting that parking lot?
So that's, my understanding, Don, is that's all been reviewed with, Tony and others in Mr. Kubiak's office with the photo plan, from what I understand. The lighting plan?
No, we usually give that lighting, if we have a lighting plan, we would get that to Don, so I haven't seen it, but.
That's what I was told precipitated our application back to the BZA before I got involved,
yeah.
so.
I'm looking at this as a concept almost.
Yeah.
I know we have a lot of thoughts in our heads from the past, but I'm considering kind of this a concept, so there's a lot of details to work through here.
Yeah, I don't like parallel handicap parking spaces. I think they kind of, especially that close to the right of way, or that close to the edge of pavement.
So take 2 off the map.
Yeah, but if you need 2, you're still only showing 1 on the first exhibit, unless there's gonna be 1 down in the parking lot.
I truly believe that option 2 is the only way they're gonna get ADA entrance into the building without going clear down to 137th and back to get to 5%.
So 2 parallel spots right on Lowerman? That's a disaster.
Well, I didn't see where he put them, but I know that they were talking about pooling. It wasn't parallel, but I thought there was an idea to put, and I could be wrong, but I thought there was an idea to put them to the south of the building.
Yeah, there's south and there's right on Lowerman. You're saying that south is the option?
It looks like there's 2 on.
Oh, I thought you guys were talking about putting them south facing west. I guess you pull in that area that's gravel to the
Probably know
south of the building before.
Right in front of the building.
No.
Practically blind.
Yeah, oh, no, I'm just saying, like, if you don't keep the handicap parking spots up on top of that hill, I don't think you're gonna be able to.
Can I have a bonfire out there?
No.
Burn all these papers, this is insane.
I mean, on the south side.
Person only has 1 handicap.
So Don, this parking lot that I'm looking at on this particular document, it shows all these spaces, all that has to be brought up to blacktop parking lot standards. And then
All
we're
our
showing,
street parking is still.
and it's all in a floodplain.
Not all of it, just
No.
the north and
Okay.
west corner.
Is it floodplain or is it considered wetland? Which is it?
No,
Floodplain.
neither.
Okay, it's in a floodplain, so, okay, so that's no,
And there's only 1.5 lots for this,
1.5 spaces,
1.5
It's
spaces.
this area right here.
Right in the corner,
It's in the corner.
Northwest corner.
right here,
yeah.
right there,
Actually, this is.
okay,
This sliver,
all
yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I guess respectfully, we were aware that we had to meet before you. We met with officials. I was unaware that there needed to be all this additional width. That wasn't the impression I was left with when we got done with the meeting. So I don't want to waste your time. So help me understand what exactly, photometric plan, Don, you want to see that? Front ADA accessibility heights, you want to see that? What else would we like to see?
Where is your second handicap spot on the first plan? So you only show 1.
My understanding is only 1 spot's needed. You could put 2, right to the south of the building?
Yeah, I was thinking that both of those would be 1.
Correct. Yeah, both of those would be handicapped.
You wouldn't have you probably wouldn't have your 300 square feet on the south one, since there's no hatch out to it. Because you're immediately up against your retaining wall. So only 1 would comply most likely. That's why I was asking.
Okay, and then if we need to expand that a little bit, then we've got the space there for it.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see some details on what that proposed wall is.
The retaining
Top
wall.
wall, bottom wall.
I'm curious what the confusion is and why you think this wouldn't have to come in front of us.
No, I guess when I outlined chapter 17 of your code says if you're going to expand an existing structure by 25% or more, that's what it currently says. It should come back before you.
Did that change?
Well, the use has changed.
We've now made it a,
No. Didn't it, chapter 17, that 25% change? Because there was,
It's working on being changed, but it
It's
does say,
being
it says all
revised.
commercial.
Right, it's not done.
that's why we didn't approve it, okay.
Yeah,
So
Heather,
you're
it's,
right.
the way
You're right,
it's
we're not-
currently
yeah.
drafted, it's arguable, but we
Yeah.
said we'll come back before you to approve the parking lot plan. Yeah, so it does appear like it does need to be modified.
So is there a current survey for this property?
Yes,
You had a survey when you bought it?
yeah, and Glenn has done multiple versions, we've shared multiple
So the
versions.
investment in that has already been made, so getting this into a one-lot subdivision situation and get it cleaned up on paper, I'm not sure what's the further investment in this? Not that money has anything to do with it, but, I mean, this needs to be cleaned up. The property's, what, 90 years old? Or more. Like I said, I'm considering this a concept, and what we're proposing, in-house medical treatment, consultations, I'm considering this kind of a concept, and I think it's doable, but there's some cleanup here that needs to be taken care of.
I guess I'm trying to understand and grapple with what the current code calls for you to approve a site plan, but what, are you asking for, Mr. Wilson, to go one step further and go through a one-lot subdivision replat process?
I'm asking that, the 2021 approval was really not totally met in totality. And now we're creating a new business, a different business. It's kind of a different use. We're not on the screen, we got people coming in. We have tight property lines on Lowerman, we have parking issues, we have a parking lot that needs to be totally overhauled. And I'm just thinking that, it's still a meets and bounds piece of property. Not that we don't have problems with meets and bounds pieces of property, but that's not what you're here for right now.
Correct. No, and I can understand your concern. My concern is just leveraging it from a site plan review and approval to make sure it meets your codes, to then requiring my client to engage in a lot of work, cost, and expense to make it clean for the town, I think are two separate things.
Well, Mr. Austin, is this wrong to ask for this now, or am I out over the end of my skis?
No, you're not out of line, and it makes sense. Had the approvals from 2021 been met, we wouldn't be here talking, so their actions or inactions, time lapse has caused us to be here, and our laws have changed since 2021 on top of it. Chapter 17 was not being talked about in 2021, and that is one of the things that happened by virtue of the lapse of performance.
Well, not subdivision isn't that big a deal. I mean, the survey's done, some of the work's done, there's not a lot of expense with that.
It's probably the easiest way to go.
I have a question about this proposed retaining wall on the south end though. Can you get another, can that wall be moved over to get another handicap spot in there?
I'm not an engineer, but we'll talk to folks smarter than us that can take a look at it.
We only use one spot though.
Okay.
And what are you proposing, I mean, asphalt on the parking lot, I've heard you say that. What are you, I mean, you gonna put base under that parking lot? And what are you proposing for the standard for this parking lot?
From what I understand is so that it would meet your standards. So whatever amount of aggregate compaction underneath is required would have to be part of that.
Okay.
Well, since it's commercial too, it needs a commercial drive apron, which is concrete coming off
The
the
apron.
road. The apron
Yeah.
needs to be concrete.
I don't think that those items are insurmountable. The stormwater piece, that's where, I mean, I'm gonna lean on Don for his opinion on that. I mean, we got wetland right next to that, watershed's there already. Does it need?
I mean, if he's building it at grade, it's essentially in kind in a way, if you wanna call it that. I would be curious to know exactly how this kind of overlays on what's out there now, if it's really increasing or.
Is that something you could calculate?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see an existing survey that actually show limits of where that gravel is out there right now. It's hard to visualize this with GIS right now to know exactly where both kind of sit. If it's a rather close wash to not having a whole bunch of new impervious surface, I don't have a huge issue with not providing detention with it, being that it's immediately adjacent to Sleepy Hollow. But
Well, but burying a bunch of storm structures doesn't make any sense if this could sheet flow.
Yeah.
yeah, it sheet flows now right into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, requiring detention would be one of our requirements, correct?
Yeah,
So is
I just don't see any way for them to do it here.
I know, I get that, but isn't it their job to show us that instead of sitting down out there to do
Yeah,
that?
we're getting into designing, aren't we?
Again,
I concur, but I hate, I mean, pursuant to doing, retention and detention where it's just not possible, I don't view it as being possible. I don't know how else we manage that.
I understand, but let's let them show that to us.
I mean, you start doing one lot subs, that triggers all those questions. Because now they're meeting stormwater ordinance, lighting, everything. And you either make them required or have them ask for a waiver.
Well, a sediment structure, would that be required in a totally improved, up to standards parking lot?
I mean, there are water quality requirements, those kind of go hand in hand with detention though. They're hard to pull off without something like that. You know, if there's no curb and gutters, you can't adequately like funnel something to a system, it makes it difficult.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't want to get any more engineering.
Photometrics,
Got it.
stormwater,
One lot subdivision?
one lot subdivision, and you're probably good with the
I have
land.
some of that here, I think.
Right.
Lines from 2021. Yeah.
I mean, is everybody okay with that?
I didn't hear what you said because.
Site conversation, photometrics, some calculation for the stormwater off the parking lot, and one lot subdivision.
Yeah, I think that's necessary, yes. Is that all you think is required then?
I think once you open the one lot sub though, you're gonna need to look at everything. I mean, does it now need to improve frontages, does it now need to do sidewalks, you know?
Well, the building's
You
already.
introduce subdivision ordinance into it, and those are requirements of subdivision ordinance.
Well, it's
Technically, I mean, we've waived those on one lot, it's not, you
Well,
know, it's something common, we've done it, that you guys have done as a board.
I mean, the blacktop of the road almost comes up to the front step of the place.
Yeah, well,
So I mean, so.
it's the same considerations you would give to other similar type parcels,
Those
but
are-
we would
those are
have to at
easy.
least go through the same process.
Do we have to go with the one lot subdivision?
Or what, Bob?
That's a policy call.
I think one lot subdivision, yeah.
Or what? What's the alternative?
Looking at what the BZA recommended at town council, I just don't see the need for it, but.
Well, I'm just trying to, the one lot subdivision, I'm sure Jerry's mind is in the same place as mine. We're gonna have to, at some point, do some widening and some reconstruction of those roads and knowing what we can do with it right off. Right, I mean, by doing this down the road, and that's a benefit to him long-term too. But that's just good planning. Anyway,
It's a benefit to encumber your right-of-ways and actually have them be dedicated versus, you know, the word I'm looking for, prescribed.
In my opinion, the business has been there over 80 years, been used, and all we're approving is the site plan, and they're gonna get new improvements with the building that's been there 80 years, so
It's not been a business though.
it's always been a business.
Standards change.
It's been an apartment.
It's been a trustee's office, it's been a bakery, it's been a bar, it's been a dance studio.
What, I understand the history, but when's the last time it was a business, an actual running business? I've been here since 2009, I haven't seen it. So date back to when?
You know, it dates back to the dance studio, which
Yeah.
was 12 years ago, 10, maybe, 14. I don't even recall it.
business there in 2015.
But they're not in the creek.
I'm certainly willing to, because it's an existing historic property, I'm certainly willing to stand on some of them, I need more information before we decide what.
Yeah, no, Mr. President, I appreciate that, and I apologize, I thought we had
I don't know
done our
how
due
everybody
diligence
else
prior to
feels
coming
about
before
that.
you this evening, that's what you're needed. I think candidly, chapter 17 needs some clarification,
I would agree with that.
and it's left me a little dumbfounded as to what I still need to do. But, how about this, I will take these comments, I will converse with my client, and I will chat with Terry and with Jeff and with Don again here and circle back with you. It looks like we'll be back before your first study session in March. And we'll try to sit down with town officials again. If there's any questions that you have, those can be directed to town folks to get to us, because I don't want to have us have a half-hour
No, let's get it
conversation.
hammered out. Let's get it hammered out.
And let's make sure that you know what Don has said you need. Are you clear on all that? Or do you need some more clarification?
Mr. Parker, I think outlined it pretty succinctly, so I've got a good gist of what you're now looking for, so.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Similar ones.
Number 3, NIPSCO Cedar Lake, mobile substation, stormwater, and erosion control plan. Owner petitioner, Northern Public Service Company, 801 East 86th Avenue, Maryville, Indiana, 46410, vicinity of 6816 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner requesting site plan approval for NIPSCO mobile substation.
So Rachel from NIPSCO is online right now.
Hello?
Yes. Hi, council. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to join you in person today, but my family came down with the flu, so trust me, you don't want to. But, I did want to sit in on the meeting today since we did finally get all of our comments compiled and able to be sent back to you as well as our updated plan set. So I'm hoping that with time, I know I just sent this on Monday, so I don't know if you fully have a chance to review everything yet or have any additional comments for it, but I do know that we did address all of the comments that were previously listed in your guys' submission back to us after our first submittal, and I'm hoping that you're able to find everything now up to par with your standards.
All right, could you give us your name and address, please, for the record?
Yes, I am Rachel Schmagrinoff. I am from NIPSCO, 801 East 86th Avenue, Maryville, Indiana, 46410.
Thank you.
She's correct. We got a resubmittal on Monday. I have not looked at it yet, but hope to have something turned around before next meeting. Hopefully it's to a good point.
So everything, according to her, has been addressed.
Yep. We will look at it and I will report back to everyone.
Any other discussion on it?
Mr. President, I had a question
Yes.
for Rachel.
Sure.
The stormwater, is gonna be great to get that cleaned up, but I'm looking at exhibit number, 5. It shows in blue, I'm assuming the engine and the generator head, is that what we're looking at?
Are you referring to
It's
the
a color,
rain garden?
it's a color, well, it's a color picture, let's see. At the bottom on the right, it says EXH5.
Exhibit which one, Jerry?
It's EXH5.
Did you say 2 or 5?
5.
Exhibit 5.
5. It has some topo numbers on it, 716, 717, and it kind of fades away.
Okay. Yeah, I do have that pulled up as well.
Okay.
Potentially might need to zoom out on that figure.
Yeah, I was just wondering, as I'm looking at this picture here, I see in blue, it looks like the generator on the trailer. Is that what we're calling a portable
That's what it's here.
mobile? Okay.
Yeah, the portable substation.
Portable substation.
Or the portable-
So, the last time someone from one of your colleagues were here, we were talking about concrete and foundations and some other things. You guys want a waiver for this trailer, right? I'm sorry, you want a waiver for the concrete under the trailer?
Ag.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Right, it's aggregate. But everything else you have there is gonna be sitting on a foundation, correct?
So
Right.
there's not really going to be anything else in here. There's going to be a couple poles that will be routed for running electricity for distribution so that when the mobile substation is in unit, no customer will lose power. But other than that, there is not foundations that equipment will be
So
sitting on.
there's no transformers, there aren't any other switches or any lineups or anything like that?
Everything is kind of all combined on the mobile substation unit, and once the project is over, all of it will get taken away.
Okay, all right, so there really are no concrete pads in this work area?
Correct.
Okay, and that's one of the waivers that was requested?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's all I had, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion?
No, sir.
If not, if, Don gets a chance to look at those and gets everything approved, then we'll have, see it for action in 2 weeks.
That's the plan.
Thank you,
All right,
Rachel.
perfect. Thank you so much. I'll see you then in 2 weeks.
You betcha.
Hope you get better.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, Faith Church site plan, owner petition, Faith Reformed Church, Inc., Brian Ford, 100 81st Avenue, Dyer, Indiana, 46311, vicinity of 6729 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana, site plan for addition and parking lot expansion.
Good evening, Jack Slager, longtime member of Faith Church and also a member of the building team for Faith Church, and I'm joined tonight by Brian Ford, the chairman of the building team, and Jack Hulls, the engineer for this project. We were before you in January and February of last year for approval of the site plan. During the course of last year, we had hoped to get under construction. Unfortunately, the building that was designed came in way over the budget, and so we were back to the proverbial drawing board at the end of the year. We have now come up with a revised plan for the building. Originally, we were looking at a 20,000 square foot addition. It's now been pared down to an 11,000 square foot addition. That being said, we wanted to come back before you to talk about what that change does to the site. We have parking, obviously, and the parking really didn't change from the original plan, other than we've moved some of it into what we'll call a phase 2 future parking area. We did eliminate the parking in the front of the building that was going to be added. That required its own little detention pond in the front, so that has now been eliminated from the plan. And, yeah, so you can see it there. And then the additional parking to the south, where you see, where it says Lot 1, that would also be future parking. So, I think this has all been submitted to Don, and so really it's more of a phasing thing. For us, the building has gotten smaller, but we're still gonna put in the majority of the parking at this point. And,
That's the new building, right, up there now?
yeah, that is the new plan, yes.
Yeah.
Are you looking for a future expansion on that?
They'll likely, it will expand again, and so we have room to do that. We're fortunate to have a 12-acre site there, so we have room to grow. We have room for more building, we have room for more parking. But at this point, we'll get our 750 seats, which was the goal. Your parking requirement is one parking spot per 3 seats. So, you require 257, we're gonna provide 317. We know that we need more parking than what your requirement requires. And then, obviously, we have room to grow the parking as needed, so as we need more parking, we'll continue on with that.
Does the height change?
Got
Because
less.
you're shrinking it.
It got less. It's down from what it was. We had received a variance, I think, for 53 feet
Yeah.
originally, so I don't think we'll be anywhere near that at this point.
Any idea where it would be?
actually, do we know the height, the overall height?
Yeah, so the,
Yeah, you can see it's actually going down instead of up, like it was, yeah, to the left is the original building, if you look at the bottom view, and to the right is the new expansion, so, we're not going any higher than they are right now.
So you're doing a smaller building and removing the detention because it's no longer needed?
The front parking lot and front detention are being eliminated at
Any
this
other,
point.
and that sounds like that's it for the changes, right?
yeah, so if I could just interject just a little bit, actually, what we're doing. So Jack indicated to you that the building went a redesign, and in January, I got the new updated plans and said, hey, we're gonna go out for a building permit. And I said, I think this is a minor change to the site, but, so I talked with Terry, at length about this, and he was just new to the job. And so he wasn't really feeling comfortable with saying, yeah, this is a minor change, or this is a major change. I said, let's go to the plan commission as a work study, and we'll let them make that decision as to whether or not this is a substantial change to the site plan approval from the 2004, or if it's a significant change. We would say that all of the approval from the previous plan for the site is essentially the same. We're, in that project, we had 2 phases of work. We had a phase 1, phase 2. We received approval on both phases. We said that within the next 5 years or so, we were gonna do phase 2. On that project, which I believe Don has up on the screen here, we were doing, a full pond expansion in the back on the south side, and we were doing the dark gray as in the back, or on the south side, which is shown in the middle, as the phase 1 parking lot expansion, and then you can see where it says lot 1, there's a little bit more parking. That was phase 2. And then in the front, there was that parking lot expansion along the front of the building. That was part of phase 1, along with the detention pond. What we're proposing now is that we would move that front parking lot and the detention pond into phase 2. So it's still a part of the project. We haven't changed any of the design.
Still 2 phases.
Still 2 phases. We just said that part of the project is now gonna be in phase 2 instead of phase 1.
And the building's a little bit smaller.
And the building's a little bit smaller, and as a result, the driveways in front of the building change a little bit. So we're suggesting that this is a minor change and that the engineering can be addressed through the building department with Don. We shouldn't need to come back in front of you and receive another approval. And if you'd like us to do that, we're willing to do that, but I don't know if we necessarily need to take up 2 more agenda items, because we would have to come back in March, and then we'd have to, you know, for both work study and for plan commission. And we wanted you to see what we were going to do. So we've presented, or Don's able to show you the previous building. So if you want to look at that, you can see there, that was the previous building on the front. It stair-stepped up as we went to the east, and that's why we needed the variance. And now we go to the next building, so this
The
building.
bottom picture is the front.
Yeah, so the bottom's the picture, we're going down, so we don't need the variance, we're not going out as far. You can see as part of this build right now, we're not building that parking lot in the front there, that retaining wall that's still there is gonna still be there. Now, we are making accommodations in the structure of this building for that retaining wall to come out. That foundation wall on that front side is gonna go down all the way so that when we do take that dirt out, it's appropriate. But like I said, all the calcs, all the design for the parking lot, it's all the same. And so.
Less footprint, less height, one less parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
One less detention pond. That's it in a nutshell.
Right, so would you like us to come back and receive another approval from you? Or do you feel that you can say to Terry, this is a minor change to the site plan and just deal with it at building permit? And
I don't see any reason for you to come back again I think that,
But if they were asking for more,
right, but
Yeah.
they're not.
If there is,
if they're asking for more, okay.
If they're doing
But
less.
change is a change. So I'm clear.
Mhm.
The parking and the detention on the north side of the building is phase two.
It's on hold, yep.
It's on hold. All the retention, all the parking that was shown, go back to that other picture here. There was some overflow parking toward the south, that one, that little section right there.
Yep,
Is that in phase two also?
that's phase two also.
Okay, and then the rest of that is either detention or green space?
That's correct, so that lobe that goes out to the south
Right.
there, we had designed that so that in the future,
The next parking lot?
the next parking lot could be going to there.
Okay.
We don't need it right now, so we're saying, we're not gonna build it.
So that's gonna be phase two
It's actually
also?
part of phase two.
Okay, all right.
Maybe
But-
a
As long as everything is
Yep, it
landing
is.
where it's supposed to land.
It is, and the updated plans that I have for these guys
Okay,
has another sheet for each set of plan, for each plan that says this is phase one, and then the other sheet says this is phase one and two.
well, getting smaller is always easy.
Yeah.
Getting bigger is a problem.
I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with it.
I'm good.
I'm fine with it.
Yep.
Minor.
We'll handle it.
It's a lesser change, not a more change.
Yeah.
We're hopeful, that's good. And we're hopeful, we're optimistic that we will still plan to put a shovel in the ground this spring, and, the contractor has told us he can have occupancy by the end of the year, so that's
Great.
good.
Sounds good.
Good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number two, Starsovich, preliminary plat, owner petitioner Danny Starsovich, 8601 West 144th Lane, 141st Lane, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 8601 West 141st Lane, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Preliminary plat for a one-lot subdivision. Name and address, please.
Hi, yes, Danny Starsovich, 8601 West 141st Lane, Cedar Lake, Indiana. On the agenda, we are actually going from a 5-lot to a 2-lot subdivision. That was what we were originally going for these past couple months. We went to the BZA last month, January 9th, and all variances were approved to move forward on the project. So now we are just looking for the approval from this committee to make it from a 5 lots to a 2-lot subdivision. That's what we're
Got anything, Don?
Have we received the plat? I haven't seen it.
Yes, the site layout exhibit.
I haven't seen it. Hasn't made it to my way yet.
I was dealing with Kirsten,
Okay.
but she
Can you
left.
send it back to the town?
Yeah,
Just- And then they can distribute it?
okay.
Yeah, I haven't,
I'll
it
send it.
hasn't come back through our office yet. Okay, you can keep that.
Yeah.
Don, I may have a copy of it.
Okay.
I can send
You
it.
send it to me? Alright.
You can have that reviewed into it.
Yeah, we can get it first review of it, probably. As long as I get it quick.
So, to refresh my memory,
Yes, sir.
the BZA approvals were for
They were-
side yard setbacks because of the corner
Yes.
lots?
Yes, sir.
Nothing else?
No, lot one, was a
The
little.
north, let's do north and south.
Okay, so the north lot would be, we had 4 variances that we had to accomplish. The one was for the lot size.
Right.
That was approved. And then the north setback and then the east setback, we needed an additional. And then for the south lot, since it was a corner, I needed 30 feet on the south setback, so we needed a 8-foot variance there.
Okay. All right, so you plan on building on the south lot?
Yes, correct, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And that should all work out, I would think.
Yes.
The not having the garage on the north lot, because you're gonna tear that garage down.
Yes.
What was decided about that?
We were gonna build a garage there first.
That's
before we build
first
our
before
south lot.
your house?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that written somewhere? Is that,
Yeah, that was in their
that's,
BZA.
okay,
Yeah.
this before this? Okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right,
we seen where
Okay.
it's going at it.
All right. Okay, I got nothing else. It's a good improvement.
Anybody else?
No, sir.
Awesome, see you in 2 weeks.
As long as Don gets his homework done.
It's all about John, all
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks, sounds good.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Okay, update items, Rose Garden, Tom McSherry. You here?
Don't,
No?
no, I don't think so.
How's that been going, Don?
I haven't heard anything. I think he's still waiting on Public Works to get some other field inspections done. But
Okay,
he has our letters still hanging out there.
yeah.
And it's hard to do stuff
Yeah.
in January anyway, so kind of expect a little lull.
Okay, do we have any public comment?
You want me to reach out to him, make sure he's at the next meeting?
Yes, please, yeah, I told him I wanted to see him at the work sessions, but we need some kind of report for the next meeting.
Hello,
Hi.
Angie Michaelachek, 12806 Lee Court. When I first moved to Cedar Lake, I am interested in native trees and such. I took a drive around Cedar Lake and noticed that the property that you were talking about by the old Hanover house, I believe that Jerry had mentioned it being the wetlands. So
Well, I was sorting out wetlands and floodplain.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, regardless, I recall that I believe that was wetlands, so I looked on the GIS while we were sitting here, and it does pop up that it is the wetlands. Now, what I want to tell you is just on January 21st, I had some questions regarding a subdivision that was built next to the wetlands. So I talked to the Army Corps of Engineers, Eric, in Chicago, and he had said to me that he looked in the system and he didn't find any permits issued for adjoining properties to build that particular subdivision I was looking into. So he said to me that if, I told him I wouldn't do it, but if he said to report anything unusual happening near the wetlands, so I can only imagine that maybe the Army Corps of Engineers may need to be contacted for that particular Hanover house, because I know we don't want to be in trouble with the state.
Well, I'm going to ask Don to jump in real quick. A handful of years ago, the Army Corps slapped everybody along Sleepy Hollow ditch with flood insurance,
Okay.
directly and indirectly.
Okay.
And a lot of these people had to go find experts to get them out of that.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I'm just letting you know.
No,
I'm
no,
not
I
an
understand.
expert.
I'm just telling you what I
Yeah.
know. That probably would have fell into the same category as everybody to the south, by Pinecrest, around the corner. But a floodplain is different than a wetland.
Yeah, if you check the box wetland, it'll
That's
pop up.
on right now. That's what the green is.
Oh, so see those words down there?
So zoom in.
So this is what, this layer, green layer comes from what they call the,
It's right there.
this is the property.
Yes, but
The
the
green.
label to the wetlands is that blue and white
Yeah,
text on.
it's on. That's what this green is.
So it's considered wetlands or floodplain?
It's considered.
This layer comes from, basically, the name's escaping me now.
Okay, you all can figure it out, I just wanted to tell you what I know.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
I mean, wetlands are generally confined, especially in a waterway, between the banks. These are approximate maps that are not to
Yeah.
be used for, it's hard and true that it's in between these boundaries.
That's what the calculations are for, right?
Yeah, you would actually need a wetland delineation, but typically, like I said, since this is a channelized waterway, almost 99% of the time your wetlands are gonna fall within your banks. This is the floodplain. They kinda line up relatively well through here. This was a detailed study, so these boundaries are fairly accurate. You can kinda see where the existing parking lot is, somewhere around here. That's why I asked Nathan, are you pretty much on your same footprint? Are you deviating out of it? Are you expanding it? That's where they get in trouble.
It looks
But
like
it's-
it's in the footprint though.
Well, he showed me on this picture when he walked up.
Yeah,
There's a
it's like
space
that
and a half.
northwest
Space
corner.
and a half,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
flips
corner
it.
right there.
Yeah.
If they're building it in kind, elevations are similar, there's no real impact to the floodplain. You're not really you're not filling in it, it's the same use. As long as it's not deep enough to impact cars that are potentially parked into it, it's not in the floodway, you're generally okay. but.
But the surface is going to change, right?
Well, that's what I don't know. The site plan doesn't have really elevation tied to it.
Right now, it's like mud and gravel.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna require
I mean,
asphalt,
that's one thing I asked. I mean, are you digging down and then it's all gonna be at the same elevation, or are you gonna build it up?
Well,
Pretty
current
different.
current standards.
Yeah, and you can still make current standards, but you gotta take out 14 inches of crap and put it back with the typical section. So it's a lot of haul off, but not cheap. So I don't know what their intention is. It's kind of my point.
Okay.
I wonder if Nathan knew that.
it sounds like he thought he was good to go, so
Yeah.
apparently not.
I think it's been pointed out to him many times that, that one corner was, had some issues.
And you know what, they may end up deciding to get rid of a few trees and move things around a little bit, who knows?
Now, I don't know whether or not he's aware of to what degree, you know, that, improvements may
Thank you.
take if he's dealing with, like
Well,
you said, 14.
I said current standards a couple times,
Right.
so.
Okay, any other public comment? Name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Michael Herbers with Dime Peak Homes, 1313 White Hawk Drive. And previous gentleman had been working with Kirsten. I had been too. I thought I was going to be on the agenda this evening for a workshop, but I guess I did not make it on, so I'm using the public comment to bring something to your attention. So we are the proud owners of the Beacon Point Barn located at 13713 Parish Avenue. And Ms. Detzauer, you can attest to, of course, us being on the unsafe building agenda. I think we're still on it, if I'm not mistaken.
You're an update item.
Update item, yeah. So we have been definitely going back and forth with, plans for this project. We have bid out some commercial uses for it. We've talked to some commercial tenants. The numbers are very difficult currently. So we are doing everything we can internally to figure out how do we make this work without having to tear it down and start from scratch. So we, again, put our heads together and came up with the idea of rehabbing the whole building for residential use, which would require a rezone. Because pulled the meeting minutes, it did say that development was R2 and B1, which I'm assuming the barn was zone B1. I did speak with Mr. Conley earlier this week. I don't know if there's really anything in the paperwork that deems that lot B1, but I just want to make sure that, we have that.
Well, I think that, I think it got split when Beacon West got approved, right? The barn got pulled to the B? Yeah.
Can you elaborate what residential use means?
We would fix up the barn and list it for sale for...
B1.
It is B1? Okay. List it for sale for a homeowner to purchase it, or...
A barndominium?
Single?
Yeah, just be a single home. Yeah.
So you'll fix the shell and then sell it as residential?
Correct.
Oh, interesting. That's the best move for that property.
Yeah, I know, like I said, we've gone through some pricing exercises without getting too deep into complete architecture. Obviously, putting a parking lot in itself would be extremely expensive, and then we did get some roof quotes on it. We kind of know what, rehabbing the exterior is going to take, and then, of course, what the interior will take once we find that tenant, depending on what use it would be. So at least this way, we can kind of have a lot more control of what happens. We can work with an architect to, lay out a home, that would be...
So you would act as the builder?
We would
You're not
act
just gonna sell an improved shell?
Correct.
You're gonna act as the builder and
We
sell it?
would obviously come in for the rezone, because I'm assuming that, obviously a rezone needs to take place, which again, probably go through obviously all the site plan approval, which, do we have to go through a site plan approval at that point, or is that just kind of in the building?
We don't have anything on that.
But I thought we've had a lot of discussion of keeping it a business.
No, we had a lot of discussion on keeping it alive.
Keep it warm.
Yeah.
Keep it in a barn.
Yeah, we just wanted to keep it alive. I think it's a great option, and what a cool home that would be.
Exactly. I mean, it's good, I might be in front for some variances, because, again, it's more front yard than his backyard, so if it is a family, I'm quite sure they might want some sort of fencing in there. But again, that's kind of maybe a bridge we cross when we get to it.
What's the foundation into that?
So it's all a slab. There's different additions that, I mean, there's writing in the concrete of, different parts of it poured, but we would end up going in there and making sure it was a sturdy foundation, obviously, selling it to, you know, a family or another person. There will be structural engineers that have to get in there and make sure everything is sound, and then obviously work with an architect to build a home to code, and then obviously submit it to the building department for review, and, yeah, I mean.
I think it's great. From what I heard from the unsafe portion was that people wanted to keep it alive. No one wanted to see it taken down because of its history.
Yep.
And the second thing was, I think people were nervous about a business going in there because it is so residential.
Yeah.
People were concerned about noise, parking, all of those things. So, I mean, to me, it sounds like you solved a problem.
Yeah, and I know, of course, at the unsafe meeting, I kept saying time after time, like, it would take a very unique
Yeah.
commercial user to make it make sense for them and make it make sense for that area. So,
Yeah.
you know, we threw the idea of residential around. I mean, it's not gonna be a cheap home either, but again, you know, to Mr. Wilkins' point, it's gonna be the ultimate barn dominium, so.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I don't like that word.
Well, can we call it something else?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna call it something else.
We're gonna call it Maplecroft Suites.
No, because that makes it sound like there's multiple people living
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, because.
Well, there will be, there'll be a family.
That one
Okay.
of your proposals with me and Kirsten was actually make it two units?
No.
Residences? Yeah.
No, we talked about making it multi-storied in there. but,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was
One
difficult. Correct, yeah, just a two-story home, we'll call it. Yeah, I think it would be difficult to make this, a two-resident.
That's gonna open up all sorts of
Yeah,
things you don't wanna get into.
But back to the foundation, the building itself has a real foundation. The slab inside has multi-tiers and ages to it because of
Correct.
the use of inside of art.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it's great.
Do you have any intention of doing any repairs to that building at this point?
Well, I mean, we did have plans prior to the winter coming and going, but obviously we wanted to make the proper repairs based off of kind of the end use of the building, which was kind of unclear at the time. So obviously we're gonna take the remaining part of, we'll call it the cold months, hopefully they're soon behind us, to, again, get it rezoned, go through architecture, you know, engineering, all that kind of stuff, and then, you know, this is a project we'd like to start ASAP, to be honest with you, because again, every time a day goes by, it's, you know, one more floorboard that's a little creakier.
Well, I would think that gaping hole in the roof is doing no goodness to that building.
Skylights are
Especially
selling,
with all the
I would say.
skylight, yeah, but the skylight is missing.
Yeah.
Usually there's a plexiglass or something on top of that.
And if the vultures start living in there, you have a bigger problem.
Yeah, I would like to see some repairs done to that to keep it in the shape, the bad shape it's in now.
Correct.
So it'd be,
I mean, to be transparent, you guys worked very well with the town, because the other option was, is it just gets demolished. And we kind of asked you not to do that and to explore options, so you've really worked with the town very well with that.
I agree with that.
I mean, because it could be down, they could have just said, forget about it and taken it down. So I think this is the best option, in my opinion.
And a similar preservation, the sidewalk across the street was meandered and twisted, so we didn't have to cut down all those cedar trees. So keeping the barn is even more of an expansion of preservation.
Do like a loft concept or something,
I love
that would be cool.
Yeah, again,
I
we're
kinda
gonna.
wanna buy it.
There you go. Again, now, I mean, because next step is obviously I just file all the paperwork for a rezone, and then we can get into the nitty gritty with, you know, what we do on the interior. I'm kind of excited because again, it'll be a blank canvas, so.
Totally unique, and I think normally for the town, I don't like to see something business turn to residential, but this is such a unique situation, and I think from hearing from the other people that live around there and other people in the town that I've talked to, it's just not the best place for a business. There's gonna be a parking lot, and noise, and the house is right there, and it's just not gonna be ideal.
And it was agricultural before, right?
Right.
Yeah, so, they requested it to go to business, and so it's just been, a speaking point west.
What would you do with the silo?
keep it.
Incorporated into.
I'm not exactly sure, because again, if you look in there,
Smokestack?
Kids treehouse.
right? It could be an outdoor, pizza fire.
Rope climbing training, skydiving.
Cool stuff with silos and hydrants.
Okay, I'll just check them out, yeah.
That's really cool.
I mean,
We do plan on keeping it, the use of it is definitely up for discussion, so yeah, we'll have to bring over some ideas there.
I'm gonna have to come through here as you guys are doing work. I'm excited about it. It's awesome.
I haven't
All I
heard-
have, any other questions?
I haven't heard one bad thing.
What a great night.
Perfect.
No one mess it up, please.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So then you're going to come to us at our March work session to submit a plan to get it rezoned or something, or?
So I guess, yeah, what's my checklist, I guess, for the rezone? I guess, what do you need from me?
Does he need a concept plan first, and then, what does he need, Dave?
He just needs to come in and file the, application for zone change.
Okay.
Simple application, change from one zoning district to another.
The whole-
Concept plan will come next, or could come simultaneously.
Okay.
Because it would support the reason for the zone change.
So since he kind of has our verbal, like, thumbs up, the
Looks
best
like
next move would be to do the zone change and then come back in front of us.
And then we make a recommendation to the town council.
Don, is there gonna be any snags that property's so close to the ditch or anything? No?
I think it's all elevated.
Okay, it is elevated, I'm just asking, is laterally,
Shouldn't be.
okay.
So if I have a couple of, thumbs ups or winks, I can even start working with architecture to kind of speed that process up before, obviously, the formal zone change, if you guys are okay with that.
I mean, I'm good.
Yes.
Where are you guys at with it?
I'm good. I think it's
Useless right now.
I think in a month,
It'll be put to a good use, I think.
in a month, something good to look at would be great.
Absolutely.
might end up with a cool lake view from the top of that silo too.
And that's what I've thrown the idea around internally, of course, we'll see what happens architecturally and structurally, but you can almost get a third story up there, because it is so tall. I mean, whether it's just a loft or whatever, but, it would have a nice overlook of that pond, and
I don't think we're gonna be good with the silo being used for antennas rentals, though. Just saying.
all right, back to the drawing.
So, short cell tower.
Yep, no, absolutely, so, perfect. Well, I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other public comment?
Have a good night.
Last call for public comment? All right, we're gonna adjourn the work session at 7:36, and then I'm gonna call to order, the Town of Cedar Lake Plan Commission special meeting of February 5th, 2025, at 7:36.
You're doing double duty today.
I know. I'm not getting paid anymore, though.
Roll call, please.
Chuck Becker.
Here.
Greg Parker.
Here.
Robert Carnahan.
Here.
James Hunley.
Here.
Heather Dessauer present. Jerry Wilkening.
Here.
John Capura.
Present.
Don Oliphant.
Here.
Dave Austin.
Present.
Jeff Bungie.
Present.
Terrence Conley.
Here.
Tim Kubiak.
Here.
And Cheryl Heidig is absent.
So now we're just going into the next meeting right away. We said the pledge at the start of the work session. We'll forego the pledge of allegiance right now. And we'll move on to new business. Number one, Cedarview requesting extension of performance letter of credit to expire on, the new one will expire on 2/15/26 in the amount of $14,047. Any questions? We have the letters already.
Those are in there, yes.
Yeah.
Cedarview is in there.
You're gonna have to help me with some dates here, because I couldn't find them.
Not a problem.
If there's,
I'll make
Nope.
a motion to extend it.
Second.
have a motion by Mr. Parker, seconded by Mr. Carnahan. Roll call, please.
Chuck Becker.
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes.
Robert Carnahan.
Yes.
James Hunley.
Yes.
Heather Dessauer is yes. Jerry Wilkening.
Yes.
And John Capura.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Number two, Summer Winds, Unit 1, request extension of performance letter of credit to expire on Have a date, Terry?
Yeah, the date on it is,
2/15/26.
February 15th of 2026.
In the amount of, to expire on 2/15/2026, in the amount of $244,187.85.
Yeah. That was the handout that I gave you.
Yeah, I know, but I haven't thumbed through it and my eyesight, and you gotta earn your money.
Okay, I know how to run the printer.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Parker to approve, second by Mr. Carnahan. Roll call, please.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
James Hunley?
Yes.
Heather Dessauer is yes. Gary Wilkening?
Yes.
John Capura?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Number 3, MacArthur School requesting extension of performance letter of credit to expire on
2/19 of 25.
46?
No, we don't have a fully revised document at this time.
Okay.
David is helping us to acquire, they believe they followed their right procedure for their organization to submit it. I questioned the document, brought it to Jeff's attention. I said, this doesn't read right. And so we asked David to take a look at it. It's a different format than I'm used to seeing, and I think David would even attest to that. It's a different format that I don't think he's seen before.
I've never seen some of the language, some of the terms and provisions that they put in it, and I know we didn't look at it in advance. It was signed here, or at the beginning, it was signed. And I know that from the content of the instrument. So, we have the gap.
So we're extending it to the 19th of February? Is that the minimum?
No,
Or is that when it expires?
That's when it expires.
Expires then, so we have until then to work with.
But they have been working with us. We just, we tried to chase it down as best we can. But the format, the verbiage is creative, to say it at best.
Irregular.
So do we set a full date and then hope for the best?
The 19th is our meeting.
Right, so we're gonna do it on the 17th.
Set a full date and hope for the best?
That is kind of walking out on the plank, because to capture the revenue, we have to go to Muncie, Indiana. Which is one of those unusual things. I shared that with Terry. I read the instrument.
Which is the 14th is the pull date on that.
Guess we'll have to make a full date on the 14th then.
So,
I think so,
That's 5 days before.
right.
Yeah.
I'd like to jump back to the project itself real quick. Okay, they're still doing fire watch over there because there's a water issue.
Because we don't have the water tank filled out.
Okay, hang on, Bob, I'm talking.
All right.
So, we got a pressure problem, we have a volume problem, the line coming off of Fairbanks is what, 12-inch?
Yes.
Okay. Where's the valve, low pressure valve cutoff? Is there a low pressure valve cutoff on that project? Like at the Schillings building?
I have no idea.
Shouldn't it be there?
Probably, yeah.
So when we approved this, we said they had water.
I don't know if
Okay,
that's ever said.
okay. The understanding was water wouldn't be a problem. They went ahead, put their fire pump in, did their expansion and all their other stuff. They can't use the pump because there's no water. The pump, we still have no water. How do we even know that 312 is enough to get this right? And when did the law change about pressure reducing valves? Because there's one at the Schillings, low pressure cutoff valves for water pressure. Schillings has it at their place, but this is not, Skillman didn't do that over here.
You're talking to the wrong person. I didn't review the water on this.
Does anybody have anything?
I guess the answer to all of your questions are that they designed the fire suppression system based on a hope or based on a number, which I don't know. At the point of the tower becoming active and the final fire pump test being completed is when
Satisfactory.
either that is going to pass satisfactorily, or that point of the low pressure cutoff is a standard that we were looking for to protect the rest of the.
Well, we don't want Bob, you know, running out of water in the middle of a shower because the fire pump's running at the
I got a
school. Huh?
I got a 320-foot rock well.
And it's new.
But 100%, like, that's gonna come up here during the fire test. During, you know, we don't know, essentially, I mean, they designed the
Well,
fire.
that's gotta get the tank online first.
Well, right, I got you.
Right, so that's still gotta be tested and checked and signed off on, so.
So how do we know, again, how do we know 312 is gonna take care of it?
That's not part of, that's not in the letter of credit though. That's an
Right,
internal
but
piping.
that
That's
has
theirs.
nothing to do with the letter of credit.
Yeah, that's not part of the letter of credit.
Okay.
The water main infrastructure is the letter of credit.
Yeah.
Their fire suppression system has nothing to do with the letter of credit.
Okay, what has to be done yet on this letter of credit? What do they have to finish?
Maybe we get something.
They have a pretty large punch list for some of their sidewalk and roadway improvements. They probably could do a reduction, but they've never requested one.
Well,
I hate to set a full day
Too
out
late
of
for that.
school, but we're gonna have to.
the letter of credit they have up now is on the form that we accept, correct?
Apparently, and based
Current
upon-
one.
The current one.
Yeah, apparently, and based upon the engineering estimate of existing costs or remaining costs to improve. You know, going back to Jerry's point a second ago, though, issuance of the occupancy permit implies that there's a water supply, that it's adequate, and that it's appropriate for that property. So, I think we probably issued that occupancy permit. There are 500 kids in that school every day.
Temporarily.
Well, that'll be good. They can go in the unfinished parking lot then in classes. So
Yeah,
there are
I just
issues-
thought, go
There are
ahead.
issues here that relate to the totality of this exam,
Well,
inspection.
it's obvious I'm crossing two things over.
Maybe.
My thinking is that they need to supply us a letter of credit on the forms that we accept, not what they decide they wanna give us, and that they haven't done that, and so we're gonna set a full date tonight of February 14th, 2025, and they have until then, which is what, 10 days, or
9 days.
9 days, to accomplish that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Who seconded?
So if we get just as a point of order, so if we get this resolved before that time, and we get the right document, when do we want to vote on that?
No,
I could provide you with the document to everyone's email, once David is satisfied that it's sufficient. Or do you need to have a special session?
No, I don't like special sessions, and we're in one now.
I don't think we need
If they comply and get us the letter of credit on the proper paper form that we accept prior to the 14th, and Dave sees it and he says it's okay, then I would accept it, and then we can,
Vote on the night.
vote on it at our meeting on the 19th.
And not
Okay.
not hold the money on the 14th?
No, if they provide the proper letter
In here.
prior to
Yeah,
the
we
14th.
need the engineer who did the work on this, and it sounds like it isn't Don. To identify.
The letter of credit has nothing to do with what Jerry was talking about. The letter of credit only includes right-of-way improvements in the road and the 8-inch water main looped around it. It has nothing to do with internal plumbing.
And isn't that stuff done?
Some of it, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They could have asked for a reduction, but they did not.
So that's why this is performance,
Correct.
because it's not done.
It's still, well, yeah, they still have a punch list from us for some of the roadway and sidewalk issues.
Somebody with credentials needs to tell us what isn't done and how much it costs.
I mean, right now, the letter of credit, I believe in that 312 is the full freight that was originally posted when this was originally approved.
Correct.
So there is plenty of money in there given everything's in, they just have some performance issues with it. There's plenty of money for the infrastructure that is part of that letter of credit. Plenty.
Don, I would like you to explain to this, plan commission, we got the permit on Robin's Nest, and explain what the process is for getting the water tank filled.
Robin's Nest, public notice period is ending on February 20th. We've lined up contractors to at least start mowing on the 24th, assuming we actually get the permit in due order. And then we will be installing that most likely on the 25th, 26th, 27th. We will fill the tank prior to that to provide some redundancy to the system, because we will be on bypass then for the duration of that installation. So if everything goes well and that thing is installed, that tank should be up and operating in the system by the end of the month.
And they issued the permit, and then we started a 30-day waiting period on,
They do the public notice first, then they issue the permit.
okay.
So,
And,
we have to get through the public notice first.
and explain the public, notice.
I have a motion on the table right now. I want to complete that. I have a motion made by Ms. Deschauer to make a pull on the letter of credit on February 14th, 2025, unless the proper letter of credit is submitted to this office, being Cedar Lake's office, prior to the 14th, and our attorney looks at it and okays it, says yes, that's proper, and then we will not do the pull. We will accept that letter and vote on it on the February 15th Plan Commission meeting.
February 19th.
So I think I want, before you take your
Thank
vote, I
you.
want to make sure that everyone understands that, and I agree with everything that you guys have stated, and yes, you should vote on the conditions that you're doing now. My impression, talking to the agent of the financial institution, is that he believes they're in full compliance already. He is not aware that we're having a problem because, again, it could be because it originated from a Muncie office, and maybe that's the way they do it in southern Indiana, slightly differently, and not using the branch bank that is up here in northwest Indiana that normally would know how we do it. So there could be a little bit of that in there. I have not felt any resistance on him not to comply. I think he's under the impression he has complied.
Oh, I was confused. I thought you meant that they were going to extend and just the forms weren't correct. You're saying that there's confusion about extending. They think that they're gonna get their money?
No, they think that they provided the surety we required.
Right. They think they provided the right document.
No irregularities about their document.
Oh, got it, okay.
So who would be notifying them tomorrow?
I'll probably be Terry, I'll talk to Terry about it.
Okay.
Well,
But I wanted to bring him in.
Yeah, notify everybody.
Yeah, I will. No, I'll send you the document if we get it, so that I don't want you guys to, so that you got the verification.
If you two are good, and this is covering anything and everything, like Don said, then I'm good.
Yeah. So go vote.
My motion stands.
That's what I said too.
Correct.
Yeah, right. You agree with that?
Second, yep.
Okay,
Who seconded, Jim or Jerry?
Jerry did.
A while back.
Okay, roll call please.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
James Hunley?
Yes.
Heather Ducksauer is yes. Jerry Wilkening?
Yes.
And John Capura.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, okay. Number 4, Beacon Point West, Unit 6, requesting extension of performance letter of credit to expire on January 27, 2026, in the amount of $133,733.95. Any comments on that?
No, sir.
Ready to go?
I'll entertain a motion.
We're good with that?
Motion approved. Motion made by Mr. Becker,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Deschauer. Roll call, please.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
James Hunley?
Yes.
Heather Ducksauer is yes. Jerry Wilkening?
Yes.
John Capura.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Number 5, Beacon Point West, Unit 7, requesting extension of performance letter of credit to expire on January 27, 2026, in amount of $309,673.13. Discussion? Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Becker,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Wilkening. Roll call, please.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
James Hunley?
Yes.
Heather Dussauer is yes. Jerry Wilkening?
Yes.
And John Capura.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Before we start public comment, Bob, you had a question you wanted Don to explain, fire department water, was it?
The 30-day period, what does that consist of? What happens in the 30-day period?
IDEM issues a public notification on their website that says that basically the town of Cedar Lake is applying for a permit to do pump well upgrades, essentially at Robin's Nest. And then they will accept any kind of public comments on it. If they don't get any substantive comments, then they will issue the permit, and then we can start our work.
And there's a lot of people out there that thinks we're not doing anything.
That's right, I mean, Paradise Cove should be going into public comment as well, both of those permits here in the next, hopefully this week. The permit has finally been deemed complete, so they just have to issue that. We haven't gotten formal notice that they've issued it yet, but we've got everything sealed now.
And once that one is issued, we were always told before it'd be a 45-day waiting period, but now from talking with you, it's may
I
only be a
believe
30.
it's going to be 30. We haven't gotten that 100% until we see the actual public notice, but that's our understanding.
And then that water will be sent to the fire and police station, and then to the concession in the park and to the town hall.
And town hall.
All right, somebody asked me, is the piping in for the concession in the town hall connected to go to that?
Well, not yet. We're gonna install a 2-inch, service tap on the north end of the Morse main, and it'll loop through, kinda around the soccer fields, and then tie into the concession stand right there.
And then you talked to me about, seeing if the park department wanted to continue to use the existing well for irrigation and stuff, correct?
Yeah, I don't think there's any plans to decommission that well. I think it's gonna be kept alive, I think. That's up in the air. We'll see.
Right. This is just for communication for the planning commission and the audience to hear this information. Because a lot of people think, we're not doing anything.
Well, Bob, a lot of people rely on Facebook for their.
You could be plowing a street and they don't think you're doing anything. Okay, public comment. Any public comment? Public comment?
No, we'll stay here.
Last call for public comment? We're adjourned at 7:56. Thank you, people.